Hello, everyone, and welcome back. This is the Good Work Show. We are still on our theme for, I guess, is the month, but we're still on our theme of sustainability and environment and just being green overall. And we got one of the greenest, literally, probably, organizations that we can think of that's going to come on the show today, Trees Atlanta. And they're going to give us an update. They've been on the show before, but it's been quite a while. And be great to catch up with them and see what they're doing.
Yeah. And, we haven't worn green at all. I don't think. We haven't bought into the theme.
Oh, you mean like just while we're doing this, like this month?
I have a lot of green clothes. Like I really could have.
I don't have a lot of green. Maybe I'll wear some green tomorrow. I have some green. I have some of everything. That's the problem. That's part of the problem. I'm going to edit my closet soon.
Is your closet colorized?
Yeah, it is. It is, but it needs to be, when you have too many clothes and the stuff is coming off of the racks are coming off of the sheetrock. That's the situation I got.
I can say,
so at some point my closet's going to cave in on me. And so I need to obviously lighten the load, but I probably need to just get it fixed and like redo the closet. But it's more than what I want to take on, but I have to be careful in there because I could be injured.
That's not the call that I like. Hey, so I'm not going to make it today because
all my shoes and clothes fell on me.
Yeah, and that could be considering the volume.
It really there's one run that is that's maybe I feel like it was already like that, but I don't know. It's just I could see there's a crack in the sheetrock. I was like,
that's not good. At my old house, I had kind of like a galley closet. It was walk-in, but it was kind of like a galley kitchen, like a galley closet. So I had two long runs on the walls and you walk down the middle. And I remember looking in there one day after I had like unpacked and I had all my clothes hanging and I had all my bags on the shelf and like the whole thing had a dip in the middle. Yeah. And I was like, this probably is not good.
Yeah.
Now, granted,
I got that too.
I never did anything about
multiple issues.
I took this stuff off the shelf, which seemed to help. And then I just kind of rearranged. But the true thing, which I needed to do was either better secure it or get rid of some stuff. I never took those steps. But all that to say, I do have, my closet is also colorized. And I do realize, when you look at it that way, you're like, I have a lot of green clothes. Like I tend to trend towards green. So maybe
you should wear green the next time then.
I should, if I think about it, in a week, if I put those two and two things together, perhaps I will. One thing I think that we should mention about Trees Atlanta that we learned before, but such a great program, especially if people are like moving into a new house, or really, I think if you're building a house, because a lot of times when you build a house, it doesn't come with much landscaping. But they have a program, among others, that we're going to learn about in the conversation, but where you can call and they'll just come plant a tree in your front yard.
Mm-hmm. And that's really good. And hopefully they know a little bit more about the trees than what, say, if you had your land cleared and then you put your house there. I'm just going to tell you from experience, they're not going to tell you what trees you should keep or you should take out. And when one of them falls, that's just on you. So take the advice of the Trees Atlanta people, because I'm pretty sure that they will put one that, is going to be good for you to have around. Not like the skinny pine trees that just, the
worst trees. Coming from my disaster education days, the worst trees are not worst trees, but they can be, are those sand pines, because they get very tall and they have very shallow root ball. Mm-hmm. So when the air gets in them, those are actually, magnolia trees are actually very good to plant. They're broad and they have deep root systems. So if you're looking for a tree, and they make pretty good smelling flowers, so you really can't go wrong with that. Mm-hmm. Anyway, so we're going to talk to Greg Levine from Trees Atlanta, learn probably better information about trees than this very anecdotal stuff that we have to share with you. But
Right.
if you need a tree, they're the folks to
Call 'em
call
up.
and find out about it. Get a tree in the front yard. But let's also hear a little bit more about what they're doing in and around town.
Hello, everyone, and welcome back to the Good Work Show. We're excited because we're now joined by Greg Levine, who is the co-executive director and chief program officer for Trees Atlanta. So welcome to the show, Greg.
Thank you. I'm excited to be here.
Yeah, so before we were commenting on your mint green paint, which is awesome because I feel like it definitely fits in with what you do in your day job and the role that what you have at Trees Atlanta, because with all the green, and you're in a green room, so that's awesome. But for those folks who don't know Trees Atlanta, or maybe haven't engaged with you in a while and you want to remind them about what you do, give us a sense of what you do and your mission.
Sure. And then, by the way, it's that spruce green around the windows trim, so you can get the full picture.
Nice.
But yeah, as you said, I'm the co-executive director of Trees Atlanta, and I focus on program creation and helping manage and develop those programs. And our programs vary quite a bit. We have been around since 1985, and we've grown quite a bit in the last 10 years or so. Our program started with planting down trees downtown. So the instant tree, 15 to 18 foot tall tree going in urban areas, cutting concrete, putting trees where there were no trees on sidewalks. In Atlanta, there was like less than 1% canopy in downtown. And now we have about 4% canopy, which is it's still 4 times greater. So it's a good thing, but it's not as much as we'd like. But we plant large trees also in like business districts in Atlanta, like in Virginia Highlands and in the past, Little Five Points. And those trees, those areas become places that people want to spend more time and shop in, community spaces. And other programs are the volunteer program, which encompasses neighborhoods, which is a tree planting program in a neighborhood. So we plant every week in the planting season between 200 or 300 trees on a weekend in several neighborhoods, and volunteers, community members come out and neighbors and help plant those trees. In 3 hours, you get 50 trees in the ground for that one particular project. So, and those trees are, like 6 foot tall trees. 2 people can move them. They're not little tiny saplings, but they're not the big ones that take heavy machinery to work. And we have other programs, education programming. I can talk about programs all day, so you just interrupt me if you have some more questions. But our education program, we have both youth and adult programming. And our youth program encompasses visiting schools and talking about urban forestry or urban ecology, and having several programs for one classroom. So we're trying to visit a classroom anywhere from 3 to 4 times. So they're getting a little bit more robust environmental education, which they wouldn't normally get, in your regular schooling. But we also have a camp that's all about being outdoors, from biking to running around in parks and learning about plants, trees, and our animals that live in Atlanta. We have many other youth programs, but the one that is kind of newer, the last 6 years, we have a youth program, youth workforce program. And that is where youth often have their first jobs with Trees Atlanta, doing either arboretum maintenance, which an arboretum is a public garden that focuses on trees, or there's our street tree care. And they do that for 5 hours a day. And we include some kind of workforce training, which, a lot of times, if you've never had a job, you don't really know what to expect. We even do some financial literacy. So part of the program is to educate kids on how to live a life that's healthier for them, and also how to be the best employee they can be. The reason why we started that program is we found that across the country that green jobs in forest, our national forest, in our national parks, our public gardens, green organizations like ours, we're having a harder time filling positions because there's the concern is that youth weren't getting out into nature as much and not realizing there's a whole world of green jobs. That's one of the reasons why we started it. So we also have adult education program too. Yeah.
All of that's, that's all incredible stuff that you're doing, just from increasing the canopy and planting the trees and all that kind of stuff. But tell us why it's important. So why is it important that we have an urban canopy? Why, if we have a downtown and, there's a couple trees along the sidewalks, or we might have a park or something, why is it important that we're investing in putting trees in the ground, especially kind of within the city centers?
Sure. Yeah, because I can run out. That was only half our programs. I could go on and on about our programs.
We can keep going, but I just want to make sure people know the why of what you're doing.
Yes. So trees, as you learn in elementary school, where they produce oxygen, but they also clean the air, the actual particulate matter out of the air. And you have the most particulate matter usually in urban areas, downtown. And of course, those cause asthma and other breathing issues. So trees not only create oxygen, but they also filter out pollution, which helps reduce asthma rates, which is really important because the closer you are to cities, the higher asthma rates tend to be. Also, there's flooding issues that you have in Atlanta specifically, and other cities. We have a lot of urban concrete. All that water has to flow somewhere. It used to go into the ground. Now it's hitting the concrete and flowing into neighborhoods. So a lot of those neighborhoods that are around downtown often have flooding issues. In Atlanta, Summerhill, Vine City, English Avenue all had flooding issues because of the impervious surfaces. Concrete is an impervious surface. So when you plant trees, you're not only giving place for water to get into the ground, but you're also slowing down stormwater because the leaves and the branches are breaking up that stormwater, slowing it down and keeping it from flooding the neighborhoods. And of course, there's the heat island effect, which is basically our local climate change. We don't, because of our asphalt tends to absorb more heat, and darker colors absorb more heat. We are absorbing more heat in our downtown as opposed to reflecting it. So we're creating these little heat islands, which you have issues like heat stroke, and also when it gets very hot in urban areas, you can actually prevent rainstorms from coming to your city. They literally, because of the heat, they move around your city, and you actually can reduce the amount of rain that you actually get. And when you do get it, it's these giant storms that tend to flood more. So you're trying to even out the heat and cool temperatures by having green foliage. Now the last thing I would say is just mental health. There's plenty of scientific studies that show that trees reduce stress, which also help reduce crime and reducing stress means better mental health. So there's so many reasons why we don't think every day. We think, oh, it's nice to have, but they obviously do more than just shade the street and make a comfortable walk. They do all these other major improvements.
Wow, that's great. And I feel like if more people knew about the storm part, that might help, because I am one of those people who had the unlucky fortune of when a storm came and it knocked down a tree on my house and my roof. So when you say trees and storm, that has a negative connotation for me versus a positive one, where you could prevent things like that from big storms from happening. So I actually think that's a really important sort of scientific fact that folks probably aren't aware of, because they probably have the more negative connotation with trees and storms that I do, which is interesting, particularly in cities when we already got flooding, and then it can fall in streets, and that causes even more of what Atlanta doesn't need, which is traffic woes. So, so I'm glad you talked about that. I'm curious to know, so what can people do if they are interested and perhaps they're coming into Atlanta to work, or maybe they're maybe they do live there, or maybe they're visiting family or friends. How do they advocate? How do they get sort of back behind, okay, yes, this is important. I've heard what Greg said. I love it. what do they do to get their hands dirty, so to speak, to support what you're doing?
Sure. So we do have volunteer projects every single Saturday for 20 something years, but we also have some opportunities during the week, and they can sign up go to our website, treesatlanta.org, and they can sign up as a volunteer, and we send out a weekly email of whatever project we might be working on. In the spring and summer, we tend to do more of taking care of trees by mulching or pruning them or watering them. We also do restoration. We remove invasive plants that kudzu out of the forest so that the forest can regenerate. So that's one thing we can do with Trees Atlanta. Of course, planting a tree in your own yard is a good start. Our canopy is about 47% in Atlanta. The way to fight climate change globally is to plant more trees, but each individual has the opportunity to help do that in their own yard by planting a few trees. And where they do occasionally fall in storms, by having a more even canopy, we're likely to not have these major storms that we see growing, everything from the flooding issues to the fires. It's because we're losing canopy.
That's really fantastic. And, just everything that you've talked about today is just so great. As I'm looking out, I finally live someplace now where I actually have trees behind me, as opposed to a tennis court, which I had before, but whatever. And it's actually kind of nice. It's the first time I'm going through spring in my home this year. So seeing all the leaves come back, and they're also pretty and full out there. So at a bare minimum, they're nice to look at. So,
They are.
for all of the other things that trees do for us, they're just really pretty to look at. So thanks for coming on to the show and sharing everything that you guys are doing over there at Trees Atlanta. Take a visit to their website, treesatlanta.org. See what's going on, volunteer, sign up, learn about what trees are doing for our community here and around the world. So thanks so much for taking some time with us.
Thank you. Really appreciate the time.
Thanks.
Have a good week.